All right, everyone. And we are going live. All right. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Association Chat. It is another great association chat this week, and I am so glad that you are here. And this week, I have to say that this is going to be super special because, well, for many reasons. But before I get ahead of myself, and hey, I see you guys saying hi, Helen. Hi, Elizabeth. Before we get started, I want to give a big thanks to our wonderful sponsor, Fontiva, the AMS for Innovation, for their ongoing support of Association Chat and the Association Chat community. Check out Fontiva.com to find out more about Fontiva for associations, Fontiva for events, Fontiva for government, and more. Check them out, Fontiva.com. And if you are watching on Crowdcast, hey, Jed, nice to see you. You can click on the little green button and find out more about our partners over on the website. Hi, Joan. Who am I missing? Hey, Aaron. Great to see you guys. All right, so welcome to Association Chat. This is your weekly online discussion for the association community, where we warm ourselves by the virtual fire with the topics of the day, welcoming thought leaders and trailblazers alike to join up in this online home for the community. I'm the host of Association Chat, Kiki L'Italian, and this episode of Association Chat is a little bit different, because it's the first show of a series of interviews that I'm doing dedicated to women leaders in association tech. And so while most association chat shows, you guys know this, revolve around topics, for this series, I want to get to know these leaders in our industry and explore some of the challenges that they faced, lessons they've learned, and to find out what they're planning for the future. And so I have my questions, but I want you to ask yours too. So if you're on Crowdcast Live or Facebook Live, I'm going to be watching both of those places. You post your questions, and I'll see if we can get those answered for you during today's show. But without further ado, today I would like to welcome Julie Sciullo. You can follow her on Twitter at A2DataZone, okay, A2DataZone. And Julie's the new president and CEO of Association Analytics. She was recently acquired by Data Analytics Group, also Julie's company. And her company's focus, Association Analytics, helps associations make decisions with confidence to advance their mission and improve the world. They offer products and services designed for associations to get a 360 view of key data sources through an intuitive, easy-to-use visual interface. Now, I know that sounds exciting to you guys, and I promise, we're going to get there. We're going to get to hear more about the company and all it has to offer. But I wanted to find out a little bit more about Julie first. So, Julie, welcome to the show.
Thank you, and thank you for having me. I couldn't be happier to talk with you and the collective group.
Yes. Wonderful. So you guys, part of the reason that I'm really excited to have Julie on the show here is because, Julie, I don't actually know you that well. A lot of times I get a chance to invite people on, and I've at least had a chance to talk with them a little bit. I know you've accomplished a lot. I've heard wonderful things about you in the association tech space. So this is a gift of an opportunity for me and everyone else listening to find out more about you. I wanted to start with a question about your career path, because oftentimes I'll get someone's bio and I'll read through it. And while it sounds super impressive, because that's what bios are, we rarely get a chance to shift the gaze to someone's journey, right? To find out a little bit more about where they came from and how they got to where they are. So, Julie, let's go back a little bit. We're going to go in the Wayback Machine. And why don't you talk to me about what you wanted to be when you were 16 years old? I mean, did you want to be CEO of Association Analytics at 16?
No. I wasn't even thinking I would be CEO of anything. I actually, my kind of career path, I always thought was going to be a chief financial officer. So I've always liked numbers. I always liked finance. Crazy enough, even in high school, balance sheets and financial statements, that was always where my sweet spot was. And so I thought I would work for a Fortune 500 and be a CFO. That was my dream.
That's so exciting. I mean, I think that's actually unusual because I don't meet a lot of people who at 16 wanted to be a CFO. But, I admire that because, I think about, when I think about my desk when I was growing up, I had this keychain that said "Dress for Success," and I mean, like I wore shorts and like a tank top, so it was like dress for success. It took me a while to get there, but walk me from there to here. How did you get from imagining you're going to be a CFO to like acquiring association analytics and sitting on the show with me today? Talk to me a little bit about your path here.
Sure. And, I don't think there's any typical path, but I think my path was atypical. So, I was sitting there as, a teenager thinking about what I wanted to be, CFO, great, knew you had to go to school and take that traditional path. However, I pivoted last minute, was supposed to go to actually Kent State. Was on my way and told my dad at the last minute, which I'm sure he still thinks about this moment in his heart dropping, me saying, I don't want to go. I want to move out and I want to start my life and I want to do this thing. So I did that. I moved out at the age of 17 and started to go, to the real life path and started working for a title company, ended up in the finance department there, and then thought, well, in order to get to the next step, I really need to go and get my degree in accounting or finance or one or the other or both. And so my path was a little bit different where I did all of my education in the evening. So I worked all day and I went to school all night throughout my bachelor's degree and then also through my master's. And so I did that for about 8 years.
Wow.
I had very long days for 8 years, and I think that actually transitioned very well into being a business owner because your days are long, and it kind of never stops. But I think I was conditioned for that.
It's fascinating because this is the beginning of this series, like I said before, but I will say that I have, especially for women in tech, it seems, I've heard similar stories where you get started working early in life and really just plugging away, just sort of driven and somehow fitting in all of these other elements. So it's really fascinating to me to hear this from you too. So as you were going through and you were working, what was some of your motivation? Because, I don't think that anybody just plugs away and sacrifices time and sacrifices. Surely around you, there were people who were not taking the path that you were. What was the messaging to yourself? What were you telling yourself along the way?
I think I always was very self-motivated. And so, at the time early in my career, I was working for a Fortune 500 and kind of working up the corporate ladder. And so that took a ton of time and energy. And it was always about making impact. That's to this day, that's what it's about. It's about making impact. Where can I possibly go in and have the largest impact? And that was kind of my transition from a Fortune 500 over to a smaller company as well. Working for a Fortune 500 and climbing that corporate ladder, you get to a point where you're, managing a large budget, managing people. That was a large component of it too, or people. Being able to shape and empower people along the way has been one of the most satisfying things for me, and something that I've had too is people that have helped me and made an impact and empowered me along the way. And maybe I've just been lucky or fortunate that those people have kind of fell into my life. It wasn't necessarily forced mentor-mentee relationships, but I think that was something where I benefited greatly and would have been able to contribute back to the community as well.
This is actually a great segue, you guys, because the first poll question that we have on here, if you're on Crowdcast watching this, I'd love for you to answer these poll questions. But the first poll question is actually asking, is there a specific woman leader that's inspired you during your career? And while I give everyone a chance to answer that question themselves, I'd be curious to hear your answer to that.
So I never had anybody famous or a leader that everybody is going to know. Mine was always somebody I worked closely with that was that person that empowered me. And so at the time, it was my managing director. And so she was just that type of person that would empower you to go beyond, to really take the reins and let you run with it, which is my personality and what I needed. And so that allowed me to get ahead very early in my career, having that person above me that kind of just let me run and do that. And so, that person has kind of changed throughout the years, but I've always had that person that was around me or ahead of me in the company, or, building their own business, that kind of allowed and guided me through that process.
Are you still in contact with some of those people that
all of them?
All of them?
All of them. Because they made that big of an impression on my life and my path. Whether they were trying to or not, they did. And that advice and that guidance, is invaluable.
It is. And I think that something that you said, I feel like I get this question all the time. How do you broach the topic of mentorship? If somebody wants to ask, you know what I mean? Do you get that too? And they're like you have to have some sort of official agreement or something like that. And I think all of the best mentors in my there's only one time somebody said, I want to be a mentor to you. And that was horrible. That was a horrible thing. But otherwise, the people who've shown up in my life and sort of they've been that role, it was not an official thing. It was just something where they just kind of fit into that role. And I was fortunate enough to be able to ask them questions along the way. So Aaron's saying over here, and hi guys, it's great to see you. I am reading your comments, and he mentions Beth Cantor or Deborah Finn as being mentors. Aaron says Associations Now is doing a Women in Tech Spotlight series, hot topic. Yeah, and this is going to be a lot of fun as we go along. And by the way, everybody, if you have suggestions, let me know for future profiles. I already have my list, but I certainly will be adding to it. But it's, and I also want to bring up for the people who are listening to this later, just so you know, of the people who filled out the poll, 100% of them said there was a specific woman leader that's inspired them during their careers. So that's kind of exciting. Jed says that he loves getting the perspective of women leaders. Thanks, Jed. It is interesting. I think that especially at this time in our culture, in our society, there's a big spotlight, being put on women going through traditionally male industries, and actually just women who are going through life in general. But as a female leader in a space that has been traditionally male, have you faced any challenges along the way? Have you seen where there have been, problems that you've had to overcome?
Yeah, I can't think of anything specific, but I would say there has been gender bias throughout my career. And my mentality has been, and this is maybe why I haven't really taken in and internalized all of those, is I keep my head down and persevere. You keep going, you keep driving towards what your mission is, and it doesn't matter that I'm a woman or a man. I consider myself a leader with a vision that's going to help and impact an industry, and that's what wakes me up and keeps me going every day. I focus on that, and I kind of let everything else roll off my back, because you're always going to have that, whether you're a woman, whether you have brown hair, whether you have long fingernails, there's always going to be something. And so it's really staying focused and persevering towards your vision and your mission and what you're trying to make impact on, regardless of what those outside, environment might be pushing you towards or away from.
I love that. You mentioned the word impact again, and I know that making an impact, where can you go and make an impact? This is something you said has motivated you throughout, just as you've grown up, as you've developed into the professional that you are today. And so what are some resources? Where do you go to fill the well? What are maybe some books or magazines or music or movies, or where do you go for inspiration to sort of help you continue on that path?
So I read a lot. I actually listen to a lot of podcasts, just a fun one, The Startup, anything by Gimlet. That's something I always listen to. I do the traditional, Forbes, Harvard Business Review. A mentor of mine is Jack Grossman, and he wrote a couple of books largely about being an entrepreneur. So, nothing necessarily woman focused, but again, I don't always view it that way. I view it as a leader, and it doesn't, all of the other demographics don't really matter as much. But again, a different perspective, because a lot of people maybe don't view it that way. And I don't know, I've thought about this a lot. I don't know. So I was raised by my father, and maybe that's why I don't have some perspective that many others do. And so I can kind of allow a lot of those things roll off and kind of continue on. That's how I was. So I went off topic of your question, but
no,
there's a ton of information and places to go. Those are some of the ones that I go to. But happy to hear too what the audience kind of goes to, or if they have a go-to blog or something that inspires them, because I do think that's important. Just small, whether you get a tidbit every morning from somewhere.
I love Erin's response. She says, any Real Housewives show. You know what? I have to tell you, Erin, I have this love, hate relationship with Real Housewives. I went through this period of time where I watched it, and it was so entertaining that it felt therapeutic to laugh so much, and to watch and really get into it. But then there's, mindless entertainment. But then somewhere along the line, I guess because I don't know why, but you know how you go through phases. Somewhere along the way, I turned it on, and I was just I got angry, and I was like, oh, why am I, don't suck more of my time. Everybody wants something. And so I just I didn't go back. So I'm behind a few seasons is what I'm trying to say, Erin. Yeah. And she's like, right. I feel you. Make no mistake. It's as awful as it is entertaining. Good. Nothing's changed. I probably need to help turning it off. I should mention that Joan asks, in associations, any idea of percentage of women in tech? And actually, I don't know the number. I just know that back when I used to serve on ASAE's membership council, I do remember that as far as breakdowns and things like that, it was primarily male in that section, but I don't know percentages. And by the way, that's been a while. That was probably 5 years ago. So I'm not sure. If anybody knows, though, please let me know, because I don't know, and it'd be helpful for this conversation.
Yeah, and I think some of that has started to shift and change, and you see more women coming into the tech space in general, not even just in the association space. You're starting to see that more and more. Because prior to this, I had worked in commercial real estate around data and analytics for a Fortune 500 company. And it was the same thing. It was actually predominantly white male dominated when I had entered in 18 years ago. And then, 9 years later, we were looking at, a different table when we went to the executive meetings, or when we went to any type of tech council meetings, or in the tech space. So it's forever changing. And, there's always those questions of why is it? Why can't we catch up? Why can't we get there faster?
Right.
And, there are many speculations on why. Is it ourselves holding us back? Is it the expectation of society with families? And Kiki, you and I were talking right before this kicked off. It's, I have that all. So I have a family, I have a leisure life. I like to work out, and I also run a company. And so, but I'm busy all the time. But that's okay for me. It's finding, there is no right mix.
Right.
I think that's what it comes down to. Everybody's is different.
Well, and so, oh, go ahead. I didn't mean to.
No, I say male or female. I feel like everybody has their own.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, certainly with everything that's going on with Me Too and Time's Up, there's a lot of other issues that are out there. There are a lot of other issues, and I think that that's why, women today are being called upon, even if they haven't gone through, sexual harassment or sexual abuse. They know somebody who has. And so if they're in a leadership position, they're being asked to come to the forefront and to stand up for other women where that's something where they become victimized. But everybody has the issue where you're trying to balance a million things. You're trying to balance a personal life, health, your career. And, it's interesting because I think that and Joan says, thank you. I hate the term work-life balance. Yeah. It's impossible. The balance is that you have to live with imbalance, right? The balance is that it's what kind of ratio do you feel comfortable with on different aspects of your being. And I mean, sometimes, my health is more of a focus and sometimes my career is. And hopefully I'm able to do everything in moderation. How do you approach it? This subject of morning rituals, do you have like a typical morning routine? Are there routines that help keep this engine going?
So morning routine is always thrown off because I have 2 young kids. So regardless of what I want it to be, it always changes. However, one thing I try to fit in once a day is some type of exercise, workout, yoga, meditation, something like that gives me a peace of mind for, even if it's 20 minutes. That's usually my minimum to allow me to do that. But really, when I start fresh every day, I'm constantly looking ahead. I'm constantly thinking, okay, what's next and what can I tackle today? And so not worrying too far ahead, but waking up and looking at my day and knowing, okay, what can I get done today? And how can I motivate and inspire the people around me to do the same? Yeah. And really, it's about happiness. I mean, that's what it is for me. And that's what I try to invoke in my team, my friends, anybody around me, is, we're all doing this and grinding at times, but are we having fun doing it? And that's important to me. I do this every day because it's fun. It's fun. And again, it goes back to impact. And so, if you can wake up every day and have fun and make impact, that's what makes me happy.
It's so there's your word again. And I feel like, so we're talking impact. And I think that from the little bit that we've spoken, it seems like prioritizing things has always been maybe one of your strong suits. It's been something that you've been particularly good at. Is that right? Or
Yeah, and that could change daily. It could change hourly, maybe. So it's being, constantly aware of your direction, and that could be hard, and that could be something that not everybody necessarily has in their realm, and maybe they don't have to. But for me, that's been able to guide me down this path into where I am today with Association Analytics and Data Analytics Group.
So did you so she mentioned, you guys, that she has 2 young kids, and we were talking earlier, and they're two very young kids. They're little kids. They're still like probably getting you up in the middle of the night and things like that. Do you think that have you struggled with that? And I'm not going to say the word balance. Have you struggled with, how to do the things that you want to do career-wise and juggle the home stuff? And I will say, for all of you guys out there that are saying, I hate this when people ask this of women and not men, I actually am legitimately interested in this answer for everyone, because I do feel like those are struggles. Those are, especially these days, most of us don't have people who just stay at home with our kids. So, and we're those who are attending Association Chat right now probably are not sitting at home choosing that path either. So has that been a struggle? What have you made those decisions? Let me say that.
Sure. So I would say I haven't thought about it too much. I've just taken it all in stride. And so, whenever I found out I was pregnant, that wasn't a consideration of, okay, now what do I do? There was a ton of self-reflecting. I've kind of always known my path forward, and it was just continue on it. And now I had, this extra human that was going to be along for the ride. And so, it makes me as a businesswoman, as a significant other, as a mother, it makes me more efficient in all of those areas, knowing basically how valuable time is.
Yeah.
And so once you're stretched and you're pulled, and I found for me it was best not to necessarily sit back and think about how much time I'm doing X, Y, and Z. It was pushing forward and appreciating each one of those moments I had at doing X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. Yeah. I can relate. I can appreciate that. I think that, for me, when I had my daughter, I think it helped me to prioritize things even better. I don't think I had the gift that you have, where I was always necessarily good at that. But when the decision is like, okay, there are 5 things that need to be done exactly right now, but something's got to give, I can't do them all. You very quickly have to figure out how to prioritize according to importance, and that does shift. And so, I think that can be a real beneficial thing, actually, parenthood, rather than looking at as like a negative or something that stands in your way. I have a great question here from Aaron, and I'm going to shift now. I've asked a lot of personal questions. We can still say personal, but I want to shift now into a question about your team and about being a business owner. And so Aaron asks, perhaps I missed it, but what does your team look like at your company? What has been the most impactful thing you've done to build and maintain your team? It's a good question.
So what do you mean by what do they look like? How we're set up?
And she says, and you know what I mean by look like, not like physical features, but how many people?
Sure.
So describe your team. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So we have about 12 people now, and really it's experience, titles, etc. Sorry. And we've built a 3-person executive team. So we have a VP of technology, along with myself, and a VP of strategy, marketing, very similar to any even larger company. We're just smaller and growing. So that's another really exciting time for us. Is right now, today, we are 10 to 12 people. We just brought on 2 people, and we'll probably be at the end of 2018 another 5 people. But we're also shifting from a services company largely to a product company. I don't know how familiar people are with association analytics, but our entire mission is really to help the association space make better business decisions. We've done that by training, tools, building enterprise data warehouses. And so now what we've done is taken that and built an analytics platform. And so we have a technology team, we have a sales and marketing team, And then we have an implementation team. And so those are really the three structures. I'm involved every day, all day. However, we have the leaders in the team, and I really try to empower them to make decisions. And something I lean towards too are the Rockefeller habits. And so having metrics, we're data people, right? So having metrics, really aligning your analytics with your strategy, and empowering people to take ownership of their own positions within the company is something that I truly believe in, and I think allows us to be successful. I would think if you were to go ask individual members of our team, and if any of them are on, feel free to chime in. We're a fun group that works really hard. It's almost the work hard, play hard mentality. And at the end of the day, everybody throws in to get things done, me being one of them. If there's any task that needs done, if there's anything that I could help my team do, they absolutely know that I'm there and I will do that. And that's how we kind of all rely on each other and lean on each other, which is really great. And we have a really good group of people. I mean, the team is one of the main reasons why I was interested in association analytics and becoming president and CEO. It's the people. And you know what? It's the people all around, because it's the people in the association space. When I talk about impact and helping, though, it comes down to people internally and externally. Working with the association leaders, working with CIOs, directors of membership, to figure out what are their pain points and how can we overcome those? How can we make your life easier and drive your missions forward? And so that's something that I'm truly passionate about, and I think it's instilled in our team, and then it pours out into our work into the community.
What's one of the best things you've ever had a client tell you, either recently or 10 years ago? Like, what's something that really stuck at you as something that you hold on to?
So even, I think a month ago, we were doing an implementation of our core product, and afterwards the CEO, it's the unsolicited.
Right.
That's where, it kind of catches you off guard. And I'm pretty sure my face turned bright red, and it was just because it caught me off guard. But she pulled me aside and she said, I just want you to know this is the best process of implementing a technology project we've ever gone through. And your team is cohesive and professional and has this down.
Wow.
And yeah, I just looked at her and I was like, thank you. And she was like, no, she's been doing it for 35 years. And she's like, and this is it. And that stuck with me. I think largely because it was unsolicited. It was like, hey, in the hallway type of deal. And it was largely to do with the team.
Wow.
And the work that they've done. So, yes.
You guys, and I just want you to notice, are you guys noticing that all of a sudden, Julie, like you have lit up as soon as you had a chance to talk about your team. By the way, Barbara piped up in the chat and said, I'm blessed to be on Julie's team. She empowers each of us to what we do best to further the mission. So that actually is a great segue to Erin's question as a follow-up. Do you have an established culture? If so, what is it?
Oh, how do you define culture? That's always it. And I would say we have a culture of openness, we have a culture of trust, and we also have a large remote culture. Yeah. And so allowing flexibility, allowing people to work and drive towards their goals and their individual jobs wherever they are. I mean, that's the reality of 2018 is, you don't necessarily have to all be next to each other all the time. You can build this open culture through remote and office. And so those are kind of the backbones, I think, to what our culture is really openness and trust, and working together, never feeling like you're on your own to do something, we have a lot of individuals that can cross train and do different positions within the company. And I think that's been really helpful because you can always count on and lean on the person next to you, which has been really helpful.
What's a sign that you have brought? Do you have certain characteristics that you look for in people that you bring onto your team? What are some of those characteristics?
Usually confidence.
And someone says, and are you accepting resumes?
We are. We're growing. We're growing. It's been great and overwhelming all at once because we have so much business that kind of is pouring in. So we're keeping up with that as well as trying to do some marketing outreach. And so we are hiring. And part of what I look for is proactiveness, people that will take ownership of their positions and kind of go out on their own and be able to really drive something forward. And that's not everybody's strong suit. That's not where everybody fits in. And so I think a big part of it too is initially when we're talking to and interviewing individuals, it's figuring out, I don't necessarily fit people into a box that we've already created. Mm-hmm. I will interview somebody, have them meet with the team, and then figure out if they're an awesome person with a great skill set that fits into our team. Let's go through another round to figure out what they like doing. My goal is to have each individual on my team doing what they love doing the most, because that's where you're going to be efficient. That's where you're going to help drive forward. And if you absolutely hate doing it, why are we having you do it? In the meantime, I'll do it for you if I can, until we find somebody to kind of fill that spot. And so for me, a large part of the company and being CEO and president is aligning resources, aligning skill sets with what we need done. And if people are happier and feel empowered, they're going to do a better job.
I love this. Sorry, Megan Powers. Yes. She's watching over on Facebook. Hi, Megan. By the way, Making of a Marketer, just a fascinating podcast. I got to be a guest on that. She's over on Facebook Live, and Megan says, hire for the person, hire for the culture fit. You'll find a job for them. Yes.
Yep. So, I completely agree.
Yeah.
And that's how we operate. And I think that's why we've been able to build such a great team, because that is how we operate.
I love that. It's interesting to hear you talk about team building, thinking about culture, thinking about how to develop that talent. I think that someone who has obviously been so driven and so motivated, self-motivated throughout your life, there are probably all kinds of things that you want to accomplish, or all kinds of things that you are like, oh, if we can just get to this next thing. Would you mind sharing some of those? Can you share some of those like goals that you have that are coming up, or maybe a win that's just around the corner?
Sure. So our next goal, so basically we've built the technology for an analytics platform, which is our product. So then we went through this whole crazy trying to name it, which I think we're finally getting there. So that'll be coming soon, which is really exciting. I think we're down to the final couple, but that was a whole something I didn't necessarily think about, is you have to name your technology and your platform. So we have an analytics platform that we're going to be launching. And as I'm sure a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of leaders, I want everything done yesterday. And so I'm constantly going. And I appreciate my team pushing back sometimes and saying, okay, this is what's realistic. And we do Agile project management. So I'm getting a little bit on a tangent. But Agile project management allows us to really time box and implement a certain amount of product development within a certain period of time to allow us not to get ahead of ourselves. So a lot of technology companies, even the one I worked to prior to this, what we did is we would sell ahead of our technology. We did the opposite here. We've built the technology over the past 3 years and have people on it. It's working. And so now it's really naming it and then really starting marketing and getting people involved in we call it's so silly, but we had to put it on proposals and get it out there. So it's our A2 baseline, and that's the analytics product. So it brings together all your different data sources and performs some analytics and provides visualizations. So then you can make decisions about membership, about marketing, and really get to what we're all looking for is the 360 view of a member, of a revenue source. And so you can start being more efficient and know where to point your resources and, figure out how to target market. And so that's a lot of the stuff that we've been working on internally for us. And career-wise for me, this is it. I'm committed to association analytics. I'm committed to growing and really helping the community, the association community, make better business decisions. That's something historically, running like a business was a little bit even taboo. It was, we don't do it that way. And I think the culture is shifting. And it's really, why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we want to make better decisions, use the data that we have to be more efficient, to drive those decisions? It's never going to be completely, automated. You're always going to need to combine that with experience. And to me, it's more fun because you can then take that information instead of taking, 2 weeks to compile a bunch of data to figure out where you are and what you want to do. You can start to then decide, oh, it's right in front of us. It updates every night. So I can go on every morning and my day can now be about how to drive our mission forward, how to make that decision to be more efficient, to go out and get a new audience. So it's really exciting because, again, it comes back to impact, and it's something that I see and I've heard over the past years as a problem. And we've been able to solve it. And so that's what gets me out of bed every morning, is thinking, we have this, it solves a problem. And to me, that's impact. Figuring out how to get it out there and make it less expensive for people and make people's lives easier. And so that's really what we've been driving towards. And so it's really exciting because the more we get it out there and get it in people's hands and have people come back and say, wow, this is changing the way that we run our association. Wow, our CEO couldn't be happier because they can now go on and see an executive dashboard of real-time information. That transformation of the association community is so exciting, but it's going to take time. And that's what I'm here, and that's what my team is here committed to do, is to drive that change.
Do you think that, so first of all, oh my God, let you, just say, go, and you are passionate. I can tell about your business. You're passionate. Let's talk about the association industry as a whole. Are there things, because you've worked in different industries, you've seen some of the challenges and opportunities they have there. What do you think about the association industry? How do you think it's maybe different from other industries? And what do you think are maybe some of the challenges and opportunities that it faces?
Sure. So the number one thing I love about the association industry is the people.
Yeah.
So it brought me back. I worked in the association industry years ago, and it brought me back to the association industry is the community, the people, and the culture ultimately. And I don't know how you define that culture, but I think everybody here knows what I'm talking about. And that allows us to kind of drive forward together, because it's like this cohesiveness, this leaning on each other, figuring it out. Like, I know that I could call on any number of our clients to say, hey, this is our roadmap, this is the direction we're going, and get candid feedback on that and how to drive us forward. Where I think I'd worked in the commercial real estate industry, and that was just a little bit more stuffy, let's say that, and rigid, and didn't allow for those natural barriers to be knocked down and able to drive forward in that manner. So, and I'm trying to put it out there a way that people that maybe haven't worked across different industries can understand, but it's this sense of community and get it done and help us. Like, if I can help you and you can help me, we're all in a better place tomorrow. And that's something that I didn't feel existed in some of the other industries that I worked in. And that drives me back time and time again to where I am today, and why I couldn't be happier to be at Association Analytics and back in the association community.
What would you hope for? I don't want to put like an idea in your head or try to bias it before I ask this question, but I'm always really curious to find out, like, sort of a temperature check on different people for the state of the association industry and maybe ideas for growth. So if you look at the association industry as a whole and you see where kind of where people are as far as technology and maybe data analytics specifically in your case, where things are, what do you wish that people what do you wish that people knew that maybe they don't in the association space as far as, how things could grow?
So a couple of things. The more and more I talk with individuals at associations, the ideas are there. It is figuring out the landscape and how to implement those ideas. So for analytics, we have something called the data analytics maturity model. There are other maturity models out there, but going on and figuring out where you are in the 5 stages, and then getting specific ideas back on how you could move to that next level. And for me, and why I'm so passionate about this, I believe data and analytics is the backbone behind us as an industry becoming not only surviving, but thriving. So if you can figure out what you have today and take all of the inspiring ideas that are already there and put some data behind it and drive those forward, that's what's going to grow our industry. That's going to allow us to find new opportunities, to find non-dues revenue, to figure out what events should we be putting on as an association, and which ones or what products maybe we should sunset. So to me, all roads lead back to data, because that's how I think, and that's what I see, and that's really why, again, goes back to impact. That's why I'm here doing what I'm doing, because I think having analytics and having an analytics platform that pulls all your data together and allows you to make those better business decisions is going to change our industry from trying to figure out how to put those spreadsheets together of old data and take months, weeks, sometimes months to do that, to having that technology already there to utilize the people within the association to be forward thinking, to go ahead and make those strategic decisions, and allow people to do that with confidence, because historically it's been tradition, politics, the way things have always been done, but that doesn't mean that's the way we need to do it tomorrow. And this could be a better way that allows people and gives people that confidence to go ahead and say, you know what, that product, based on all of these data points, we don't need that anymore, and we're wasting resources. What we can be doing is going after this new audience, and that's going to grow. And so organically, if we're able to do this, we'll be able to, again, not only survive, but thrive and really grow. And and technology is just a piece of that. It's
Yeah.
it's people, it's change management, it's decision making and business processes. So it's having all of those pieces in place, and we have the people. That's what the people are great.
I think that's such a challenge too. One thing you brought up was talking about, different audiences. And a lot of times because of the types of projects that I get brought in on, they have to do with marketing to a group. And a lot of times they've either decided that there's a new group they're trying to reach, or they're trying to decide if maybe eventually they need to reach a new group. And my job is to communicate to whomever it is that they want to focus on. But this question of audience is one that's always there. And a lot of times people are trying to figure out whether that opportunity for growth is indeed something that they should pursue or not. And related to this, Reed writes, related to Kiki's question, how do you address the challenges of old school folks who don't understand some of these values, particularly C-suite? So like when you're talking about, and I imagine you're talking about like, well, I'm not going to answer for you actually, Reed. If you want to I will let our guest answer what she thinks about the question. And Reed, if you want to clarify and ask follow-up questions, I'll let you do that too. And I will sit back here and drink my coffee. So,
so I think, that's a common challenge that we run into. And I think we're at a tipping point where we're getting away from some of that, but that's always going to exist. So then for me, it always comes back to data. And that's something whenever we go in and we're doing an analytic strategy roadmap, we always have the old school person, or we always have the loudest person. We did this because we have a really loud board member, and that's why that decision was made. And so we're at a tipping point, and the way that I would recommend, overcoming that is by using some stats and some data to prove, to make your point, that this is how you're going to be able to become more efficient and find new audiences. And it's really about aligning your analytics with your strategy. And so when you're able to do that and then build metrics and then see them grow, believe me, all of a sudden, all of those old school people that are on the C-suite or the board or whatever, they get excited and they then see the vision. It's hard to grasp whenever you don't have something in front of you that is visual. That's right. That's the front end of our tool. It's all, visualizing data, and that's what we believe in. Until you can do that sometimes and put it in front of your group of executives, it's hard for them to understand that this is the direction that not only the industry, that the professional world is going towards. Mm-hmm. So I think we got a hallelujah.
Yeah, we got a hallelujah, which is good. We're getting religious here. This is not. No, I'm just kidding. I love it. As we're kind of rounding out the hour, I want to go back to, asking you for your advice about how to guide people who are entering into this industry, because a lot of times, especially with association chat, it draws a wide variety of people, but a lot of times people who are trying to figure out what the industry is all about will join association chat to find out, what leaders are saying, what these thought leaders and trailblazers believe. If you had advice to give them, what would it be? Like, do you have advice for people who are just entering into the association industry and want to get more involved, want to learn what it's all about?
Well, in general, again, it's everything goes back to data for me. And I think it was Google's chief technology officer that said the ability to tell a story in data will be single-handedly the most important characteristic or skill moving forward in the job of tomorrow. And so we've seen it. We've seen individuals that start an association, and it doesn't really matter in what in what department or at what level, if you can pull together data and tell a story in the data that's going to drive your association forward, everybody's going to look to you when you're the holder of that data. So we've seen, I'm thinking of a particular individual move from one of the frontline workers in membership all the way to now, I think, an EVP of strategy at an association, because she had this unique ability to translate data and the technology piece into business actions. And so, again, it's, back to data, because that's who I am and who we are. But I think we need more of those individuals and more of those business analysts within the association space. Mm-hmm. And I don't think we have to look outside to get them. I think we have plenty inside. We just need to draw them out and give them the tools and technologies that allow them to be successful.
I love it. So for upcoming opportunities to see you, talk to you, are you going to any meetings where our people might be seeing you soon? What's the best way for people to reach you?
Sure. So we speak at most conferences. So we'll be at Personify. We will be coming up at Digital Now. We have a session, a really exciting session that we always do everything with a client too. So we do case studies. We also have our own network at the Association Network, in which we hold quarterly meetings at ASAE. So absolutely look for us at those conferences coming up, always at ASAE conferences. And then, of course, associationanalytics.com. And for anybody who wants to reach out to me personally, please feel free to email me, jsciullo@associationanalytics.com. I'm happy to talk to you more about anything that maybe resonated or anything else you want to chat about.
This has been wonderful. I mean, I have learned so much about you, and I can really, I see the passion, I hear the passion. And so if I have any questions about association analytics, I know who is first on my call list to reach out to. So I want to say a special thank you to you, Julie, for joining us today on Association Chat.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And thank you for everybody participating in the audience too. It's really, really fun.
All right. And everybody who's listening, everyone on Facebook Live, on YouTube Live, on Periscope, and definitely all of you who are here and Crowdcast with us, type in if you have ideas about suggestions for women who are inspiring in association tech. This is a series that's going to keep on going. But for that matter, I still have all of the regular shows that I do around topics. So if there's a topic you want covered, let me know as well. And I want to thank you. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you liked today's show, please be sure to like, subscribe, share, do all the things to share that love. And be sure to join the private Facebook group for Association Chat, where more delight and intrigue awaits you. So until next time, everyone, keep asking questions to learn every day. As Joseph Campbell once said, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. All right. Bye, everyone. I hope you have a fantastic week.